Hello, my friends of the Co-Cathedral of St. John, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Lord be with you. So I apologize a little bit for last week. I really got carried away. That was a long reflection about Bishop Quinn's coat of arms. So I was trying to introduce this coat of arm history, and then to open up his coat of arm, Bishop Quinn. So I just got a little bit long. And now you're ready to say to me, well, if you don't get going, you're going to be long again. But I promise, not so. Before I go to this coat of arm I'm standing with, in front of, Vacation Bible School, this is a treasure. And I know when summer comes, if you don't plan, if you don't schedule, if you don't really look at things and get it nailed down, it doesn't happen. So I have the bulletin in front of me. It's all 3-year-olds through those who will be entering 4th grade next fall. They're invited to participate. And it's July 26th to the 30th. And it will be at St. Pius. We are partnering with them. So Megan and all of our people are going to be doing it with St. Pius because it's just easier to bring a larger group together, actually. So we would really encourage you to give consideration. It's a wonderful opportunity. You can go online to register to questions. There's just all kinds of possibilities. So I'm standing in front of this coat of arms, which is that of Pope Pius XII. He was the Pope when this church was built in 1956. So just to give a little background about it, before I was looking up the coat of arms for Pope Francis. And his is by having mercy by choosing him. So by choosing Christ, we have mercy. And that was his coat of arms when he was Jorge Bergoglio, when he was ordained a bishop in 1991. And then in 2013, when he was elected Pope, he kept the same one. Now, to be honest, that's a little bit unusual. Nothing wrong with it, of course, because he speaks about mercy a lot. So that is really in his heart and in his bones. By choosing Christ, living Christ, one is led to show mercy. So here we have Pope Pius XII, as I mentioned a moment ago. And he was Cardinal Pacelli in Germany. And he became Pope in 1939. So imagine leaving Germany and becoming Pope with all that was happening in 1939. And he was Pope until 1958. I was born in 45, so I recall well, growing up, until Roncalli, Pope John the 23rd, was elected in 1958. So there is the controversy about Pius XII in reference to our Jewish sisters and brothers, who can be rather critical of him because he didn't do enough in reference to the Second World War, but in particularly all that happened with the Nazis and the killing of millions of Jews. But historically, the Vatican has just released, you probably saw that in the news here maybe a year ago, I don't recall exactly, to really give documentation, because it appears that he knew that if he was too public, of course, it would just cause a reaction and things would be worse. So much was going on with monasteries and convents and religious houses in which they were hiding Jews and protecting Jews. So I've read a few things about this before, and I'm really limited because it's a big history about his experience as Pope in the midst of the Second World War, and in particular, what was happening with the Jews. He did everything he could by sending all kinds of documentation to a variety of European countries, saying it's not too late, because if we go to war, it will be a devastation. So even prior to the Second World War, he was with a passion attempting to touch the European world, where it started, of course. And so first of all, we have here the tiara. We have first the keys. So we know from the gospel to give Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and is the vicar of Christ, the Pope. And this tiara was very typical. So when Pacelli came out, having been elected Pope Pius XII, they took off his mitre and they put on this tiara. So jewels and like king and that kind of image. Now that was stopped with Saint Pope Paul VI. He gave up the tiara, and no pope has worn it since. And we all know that's a beautiful decision and gesture. Those kind of things fit earlier in some ways. Maybe they actually didn't so well, but there was good reason to give it up. And we have this dove here in the middle, a beautiful dove with the branch of peace in its mouth. And we have this Opus Justitia Pax. So the work of justice and peace was the motto for Pius XII. And what's so important here is he really had a conviction and a passion for a work of justice and peace. And that's why this criticism, will eventually, historically, be given, because they've opened many kind of secretive, sealed documents from this time period to really evaluate and understand better what he did or didn't do. Also, you can recall that he was actually preparing for the Second Vatican Council, particularly about worship. Montini, who became Pope Paul VI, was his Secretary of State. And Montini worked with him for years and years and did a lot of this theological study about how we could change, advance, open up the possibility, particularly about the liturgy and about worship. And Pius XII made many changes with our liturgy during that time. But then, of course, there was the preparation for the council, and then he dies in 1958. Roncalli becomes the bishop, has been a cardinal and becomes the pope, and opens the Second Vatican Council. So this is an introduction. Now we're going to, in a moment, look for another week at these other coats of arms here from our history, because it goes back to Dubuque and then St. Paul and then Winona. God's peace to you, and may every blessing come upon you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Pope Francis, thank you for teaching us about mercy.